auditor says Covington's former finance director stole nearly $800,000 from the city and that the city is partly to blame.
The auditor found Bob Due's scheme took more money than first suspected and lasted much longer. Due has been locked up for a time. Local 12's Joe Webb joins us from the newsroom with the newly released audit results. Joe?
Well, Rob, the auditor claims Bob Due started stealing from the city in 2001 and didn't quit until he was caught last summer. He says the city is lucky he got caught because the controls that were meant to protect the city were weak, easily manipulated, or just not there.
This just wasn't a this just wasn't a failure of one individual. It was a failure of a system.
Kentucky's auditor laid out today the not-so-elaborate scheme Bob Due used to allegedly bilk Covington of nearly $800,000. Using phony vendor names and manipulating the city's financial software, Edelen says Due was able to deceive city administration and become a trusted institution himself.
The fact that he was able to, again, design a system of incompetence around him that permitted his graft, that facilitated it, and the fact that there was so little oversight from above, I think is a real tragedy.
Like a theatrical tragedy, there is blame to spare, and it spills onto those first cast as victims. Bob Due's scheme covered the terms of 3 mayors and 4 city managers, what current city manager Larry Klein called a game of musical chairs.
The music stopped on our watch. We accept this. The buck stops here. We will make this right. It happened on our watch. It was discovered on our watch, and we will fix it on our watch.
Klein's administration fired Bob Due, sued to recover what he took, tightened internal policies, and hired a new finance director and internal auditor. Big changes. But it may not be enough for some. The firefighters union is livid for the brownouts Klein and Due pushed, claiming budget problems, while Due was allegedly pocketing city cash.
A lot of the cuts and the things that were made to our organization as far as browning out of an engine company everything every day were based on these facts, and we feel that those facts are now called into question.
City Commissioner Steve Frank says 2 Covington commissioners are poised to vote out the city manager, 2 are not, and he may be the swing vote.
Lack of supervision is fatal in my industry, and that's one of the reasons why Larry is still on a very slippery slope with me. But I have to weigh a lot of other things.
Now, Covington has sued Bob Due, some of his family members, and a whole list of software vendors and banks in hopes of recovering some of the money that was supposedly taken. According to the audit, Due wrote 37 of those phony checks to his wife and an elderly aunt. Now, Prosecutor Rob Sanders says those people were not aware of what he was doing and not part of the scheme. Sanders says he doesn't anticipate any more charges to come from this case. Bob Due is charged with 5 charges, including theft and abuse of public trust. He'll be back in court next month. Rob?
Joe, is anybody talking about whether they think they're really going to get this money back?
Well, Rob Sanders said today that he thinks that Bob Due is probably going to be paying the city of Covington a little bit of money every month for the rest of his life. Who knows where the money is, how it was spent. That's the sort of stuff that's going to come out as the civil case unfolds, and it's going to come out probably in the next month or so when we get to the details in the criminal case. At least at that point we'll probably hear a little bit more about what he was doing or allegedly doing with this money. But as far as getting all of it back, I don't think they hold out much hope of getting most of it back.
Yeah. Joe Webb, thanks very much. Due faces up to 20 years in prison if convicted. He was originally on house arrest, you may recall, but sent to jail after 2 reported suicide attempts. Bob Due is locked up in the Kenton County Jail.
A local